The following is an EHC media production.
Media Rebels. Yeah, man, you want the latest news about all kinds of legends and in hip-hop and sports and talk a little bit of politics? Well, go ahead and click on your Facebook account, go to the search bar and type in Media Rebels. It's a really fun interactive page. It's up and coming right now. There's actually a really interesting video of a guy wearing a Donald Trump mask who seems to be responding to what Eminem did the other night with his freestyle on the BET Hip Hop Honors or Awards show. So, when you get a chance, click on to Media Rebels on Facebook.com and check out what they have going on over there.
Hey guys, this is Brian Green here, your host of WinXT, your weekly insight into the who, what, when, where, why, how, what happened on NXT, and that's a pretty clever name, huh? I think I outdid myself with that one. I welcome your feedback so we can chat all the good, bad, and ugly coming out of Full Sail University and how this important brand and everything surrounding it can change the future of wrestling forever, brother. Check out new episodes every Thursday on the RWT page, and I hope to see you later, dudes.
Scenes of violence. Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome to the RWT podcast.
Well, hello, party people. My name is Emir blackbane Costello, and this is the RWT podcast. My goodness, it has been far too long, my friends. Yet, here I am. Back by request, back by popular demand. Just kidding. Welcome back to the RWT podcast, man. It's been a minute since I put a show out, but I am finally ready to get myself back on track here. I've been a little busy lately, doing a lot of work on ring psychology, with Micah Beza, and that's a fun show. Also, I've been helping to edit and produce WinXT. Great show hosted by Brian Green. One of the best shows we got on the channel, super entertaining, where he recaps everything that happens on NXT each week. Not to mention the hand I play in helping to put together Smack Talk, hosted by Moses Marquez, and then that New Japan show that he just started doing, which he still doesn't have a name for. Moses, name your show. So, and then there's, didn't have as much of a hand in this, but since I'm naming all the other shows, Hell in a Podcast, hosted by Daniel Crimmins. We've got one episode of that so far. Hopefully we get more. Point being, my hands have been plenty full, and my schedule's been plenty busy with all kinds of stuff, and just haven't had a chance to consistently put out an episode of RWT, but never fear, a brand new episode is here. Now, this episode was recorded probably about a month ago, so adjust your ears for that timeline. But my special guest today, or when I made this recording, was Moses Marquez, and he came on the show to talk about his love of wrestling, what it is that he loves about it, how he got introduced to it, what it's done for him and his brother, and also this was right before he started doing Smack Talk, so he was kind of like, this is, trying to give the audience an understanding of what he was going to be doing with Smack Talk and what kind of show he wanted it to be. Which, if you listen to him every week, you kind of know those answers already. But it'll be kind of cool to hear what he thought he was going to be doing with it before he started, and if he actually stuck to his original plans. We'll see. But before we jump into that interview, I don't know if you guys remember, but recently on RWT Podcast, I've been featuring just some music just from different people, just trying to get people who are on the page or in the group, if they have a talent they want to showcase or something they want to advertise. I'm like, hey, come on the show. And I've been putting up things if I know people are into certain things. Like I found out, Jeff Hardy is in a band, and I put up a song of his on one of the episodes, and then I put up a song by Chris Jericho called Judas, his band, which is still topping the charts as we speak. And most recently, on an episode, I found a song by Joe Gonzalez's band, Dirty Suicide, and I put that on an episode as well. Just trying to, find anybody in the group who has a talent and feature it, because I think it's kind of cool to be able to introduce you guys to new music. And who knows, we could really just kind of, boost each other and make everybody aware of everybody else and what they do. And it could be a really cool thing. But there was, at some point, I promised you that I would feature some of my own music. And today is that day. So there's a song that I'm going to play for you guys next that I wrote and recorded at a time where it seems like every day I was waking up at, a few months ago, or I don't know, earlier this year, definitely a lot of last year. It's like every day we turn on the news and there was another black person that was being killed by the police. And I'm a black guy, so for me it was a very fearful time. I just didn't understand what was going on in my country, and a lot of these guys were innocent. They didn't have weapons. They were just being targeted. Some of these guys were criminals. Let's face that fact. But even the criminals deserved to be processed the proper way and then brought before a judge and jury, not to be executed or murdered by the police. And so I wrote a song at that time to just kind of express what I was feeling. And I titled the song Black Lives. Not to be confused with the Black Lives Matter movement. I'm not affiliated with that movement in any way. I just thought, because I'm talking about black lives, that's a great title for the song. So I'd like to share that with you guys today. That's my most viewed song on YouTube. I know it has like 100 views. I don't know. I don't get a tremendous amount of views, but it's one of my favorite songs that I ever made, and hopefully you guys will enjoy it too. Give a listen to it, and then let me know in the comment section what you think about it. Without any further ado, I will give you Black Lives by blackbane. Walk around, it's nighttime, seeing those that don't like mine stare me right up in my eyes. Situation look nice, right? Lucky I ain't no nice guy. Ask about me, it's fight time. Trying to take all these lives, right? That's 2 blades in your right eye. Police, they talking on scanner. Told the sergeant they handling. Another body on my streets. Send the corner, no ambulance. Authorities, they ain't caring. Information we sharing. Black bodies still piling up. Government just staring. I don't care about po-po. I don't care about rival gang. I ain't about that racial war. Don't make this no color thing. I don't know if you know this. We're trying to be about them brighter things, but heads out in our soldiers. Our situation's a dire thing. We know the biz you didn't show us. You harm the subjects of a king. It's time to pop exploders so you can feel what that fire bring. I don't know what you talking about. Ain't nothing for us to talk about. Heard your people is about that life, or do like Unc and just walk them out. Me and mine, we'll stomp them out. Eye for eye, who keepin' count? Heard you got like 3 eyes, that's 3 of yours that gotta go right now. Put your men up on the floor right now. Put them women on the floor right now. Put your kids on the floor right now. Ain't no rules, that's how it go right now. We ain't ones who stop the shit, but damn sure we'll end it. Tell me how you justify the black lives you ending. Someone gotta speak for us, so my words defending. Screaming Black Lives Matter, so taking one not your decision. Homie, you ain't God. What is it you missing? You better talk to Jesus and try to get some vision. One more mind get touched, that's one of yours gon' missing. Our fate is on a crash course, this here's that collision. You fooled and done what you done done, attacks were malicious. So I got my soldiers, we clipping up with veins full of that venom. Full of that venom, full of that venom, full of that venom, full of that venom. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That was yours truly, Blackbane, with the song Black Lives. Let me know what you thought, man. It's kind of funny. When you do music, you oftentimes, just like when you're a wrestler, you assume a character, you take on another life, so to speak. And I think people get confused when they hear my music, when it sounds like that, and then I talk like this, and everybody's kind of like, what's going on here? I'm a very universal person. My worldview is not limited, and I have a lot of personalities. No, I'm just kidding. Anywho, thanks for giving it a listen. Give me some feedback. I want to know what you thought. And now that I've made you wait long enough, it's finally time for you to feast on this awesome interview with Mr. Moses Marquez. So coming up after the break, we'll go straight into the interview with the host of Smack Talk, Moses Marquez.
Be next, be NXT, be different, be weird, be huggers, be fireflies, be mohawks, be beards. Like no one, like nothing, like whatever, like this. Like Oscar, like Charlotte, like Becky, like Bliss. No tap outs, no count outs, no 3 counts, no friends. No stop it, nostalgia, no now with no then. One shot in, 1 million, one verse all, one team. One Finn, one Valor, one Demon, one King. Be hated, be vacant, be R-A-Y. Like Jimmy, like Jay, like even this guy. No divas, no mud fights, no thanks. One Sasha, one boss, one word, Banks. Be heard, be seen, like Dolph, like Dean. No guts, no glory. One shot, one story. Be you, like now, no time, one run. Be like no one. Get the deluxe edition and play 4 days early. Rated T for teen.
Welcome back to the RWT podcast. I'm sitting here on my couch on an early Saturday morning, and as promised, I have a friend with me, and his name is Moses Marquez. How you doing this morning, Moses?
I'm doing fantastic, sir. How about yourself?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for getting up at the ass crack of dawn to get this show recorded with me.
You know what, man? For our wrestling fans, I'll do anything.
That's perfect, man. So, let's just start out by getting a chance to get to know you a bit, because I know people have seen you on the page and they've seen how active you are, but I don't know if people know anything about your story or anything. So, just for starters, like, how and when did you become a wrestling fan?
Oh, okay. I love this story. And I still kind of remember it to this day. It's like kind of how vivid it was. I was young. I was probably like 6 years old, and I shared a room with my brother. I woke up one day in the middle of the night, kind of probably like 9:30, 9:45 at night, and I turned the TV on. And if you remember, back in the Super Nintendo era, if you will, you used to have your channels set to channel 3. Well, I may have hit the down button, and in San Diego, channel 2 is the USA Network. And we all know what's on the USA Network on Monday nights, and it was Raw. I had no idea what I was watching. I turned the TV on. I saw a guy standing in a big square ring that looked like a boxing ring that I did not know was a wrestling ring. And as I was getting ready to turn it off, I heard a gong. And that gong, I'm going to say, changed my life for the next 20 plus years. I saw The Undertaker. And as much people say, like, he was the guy that started it all, he was the guy that started it all. His entrance drove me to try to find this program, whatever it was, 5 days a week. And I finally figured out that it was simply on Mondays. And ever ever since that day, I got a chance to try to watch any and every wrestling show I could. If it was WCW, if it was the WWF, it didn't matter. I was trying to watch it.
So 20 years ago, so we're talking right around 1997?
Oh yeah, like just before the peak of the Attitude Era.
Yeah, 97, I think that's like, man, that should be close to the time where Stone Cold took the strap off of Shawn Michaels, right?
Exactly. It was, if I'm not mistaken, the match, because I've gone back to try to find that entrance. I've gone back, and I want to say it was an Undertaker versus Jake the Snake Roberts match. So that was a big thing for me, because Jake Roberts then became I became a very big fan of Jake the Snake Roberts after being able to backtrack and all, realizing how good of a worker he was, basically ahead of his time. But yeah, and then my love for pro wrestling only got bigger after the Attitude Era. Truth be told, I was more of a WCW fan during like the peak of the Attitude Era, but I would consistently flip back and forth on Mondays.
You know, one of the earliest matches that I remember, well, I don't know. It's not that it's the earliest, but for some reason, I guess what I'm trying to say is the match should have been insignificant, but it still sticks out in my head. I remember The Undertaker fought against a young Hunter Hearst Helmsley on a show that was called Shotgun Saturday Night. And what I never forgot about this match is I just remember they were fighting in the back, and they were fighting like, they fought to like an escalator, and the way the match ended was like The Undertaker just tombstone Triple H onto the escalator, and when Triple H like landed, he landed like on the escalator steps and slumped over, and he just rolled the escalator down out of sight. Like that's how
You know what? I don't think I've seen that one. That sounds like something worth going back to watch.
Yeah, I was like, this guy, wait, where's he going? And then he went away, and then JR said something, you know, and then that was it. The match was over. I was like, you know, kind of reminds you of like when you, back in the old school, you know, or the older versions of like some of the SmackDown versus Raw games, whenever you have a backstage fight, and then you'll see it now like in this year's game, a little bit in last year's game too. Whenever you have a backstage fight, it doesn't typically end by pinfall. It usually ends when one person does a move to another person that's strong enough to knock them out. And that's exactly what that was.
Kind of how I remember it. It was back in the day, like you would just slug it out in the backstage, or boiler room brawl, as mankind would call it.
So you said you were more of a WCW guy, correct?
Yes, I was. I got to admit that when I first really got into it, the guys from WCW caught my attention more. And if this sounds cliche, I apologize, but it was guys like Rey Mysterio, guys like Dean Malenko, Perry Saturn, Eddie Guerrero, for crying out loud. And then, to be real honest, and I do get weird looks for this, I was a very, very, and still am, big fan of Lex Luger.
The total package, huh?
The total package. The people do not understand the love I had for Lex Luger. I wanted to be Lex Luger. He was the almighty to me, and I was upset that I never got to see a title run from him. But, I mean, I loved his torture rack. He was a big, strong dude. He didn't have the greatest moves, but that torture rack was the greatest. I still remember putting my brother in it night after night. Still one of my favorite submissions.
I wasn't a huge fan of Lex Luger, but I remember the Lex Express. I mean, it's like he didn't get a championship run, but he got a bus back when nobody had a bus. So
yeah, that was cool. He got a bus when nobody had a bus. He did the Yokozuna Slam, which I thought was really cool. And then I still, because I've, ever since, when you get really into wrestling, a lot of times you like to backtrack. Well, I backtracked, and I watched a lot of Lex Luger's WWF run, and it was like, oh, God, now I see why people don't like you. Like, he was green in the WWF, and he got a little less green in WCW. but unfortunately, what carried him was he was a big, strong, blonde dude. So, I mean, unfortunately, that seemed to be what a lot of the guys were in like the '90s. You were a big, strong guy, and that's why you were on the show. And I'm glad that it's become more of a like I understand that, what I mean, like it has to have an appeal, and a lot of these guys that are big, strong dudes, former football players, boxers, what have you, they are draws, and I'm not denying that at all. But what's made me even more of a fan as I've gotten older has been the in-ring work, and that's why I'm a very big fan of guys like Jake the Snake Roberts, Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, because they put on matches that made you want to see more. They were amazing on the mic. And a lot of times that was the first thing to grab people's attention in the early 90s, or in the mid 90s. What grabbed my attention was great matches. I still remember the very first great match I saw, and I watched the entirety of it, was the Bret Hart, Stone Cold Steve Austin Survivor Series match, if I'm not mistaken, where Stone Cold was busted open, and the image of him pouring blood in the sharpshooter made me do nothing but respect the guy. Yes, it was the perfect double turn. I don't think it's ever going to be executed in such a better way, and it was just so good. It was just so good. I used to hate Bret Hart, and after that match, I loved Bret Hart. Heel or not, you're an amazing in-ring worker. You're great on the mic, and you pulled that off with Stone Cold Steve Austin, a guy who was basically nobody. You know what I mean? Before the King of the Ring. And I'm no bagging on on Stone Cold here. He's the man. I got his figures and all kinds of other stuff. He was a very big part of my life, but he was kind of a nobody. He was not the million. What was he? What did they call him when he was with Ted DiBiase? The Ringmaster. Like he was kind of like a throwaway character, but he then became the biggest professional wrestler in the business.
Yeah, it is amazing and you kind of alluded to it as well with Lex Luger, where it's like sometimes you see a guy at a certain point in their career and they're nobody. And then you look at them at a different point in their career, and they've grown so much, they've learned so much, and they are a totally different persona, which I think also rings true for guys like Drew McIntyre, and Jinder Mahal were both turned into throwaway characters and were tossed into 3MB with Heath Slater, who perhaps did not have kids back then. I don't know. And so
I don't think you did.
And then so they're playing air guitar, and the whole gimmick was pretty much trash in my opinion. But then they both got fired from the company on the same day. Two best friends, and Heath Slater got to stay. And so what do we learn from this situation? Heath always got to stay and was never forced to grow, and as a result, he really hasn't gotten any better at all. He's kind of like the same old Heath Slater. But then you look at
very true. Even his little tag team with Rhino, he was still the same Heath Slater you've seen for 10 plus years.
Yeah, but Drew McIntyre was fired from WWE, and he traveled all around the world wrestling. He got his body built up. He became a bona fide, real in-ring performer, and comes back to WWE and becomes the NXT champion. Then there's Jinder Mahal, who was fired from WWE, and he didn't take it very well, was kind of a little bit depressed and down on himself, and then one day kind of woke himself up and said, you know what, that's enough. I need to get back in shape. I need to be out there wrestling. And he did, I found out that he ended up running a lot of shows in India. There's a reason why they're using this guy to promote in India. He was a booker and a promoter in India, and he was running shows where the biggest straw was the Great Khali. The Great Khali's fame in India is
ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like honestly, no lie, it's like what Michael Jackson was in America. Like his fame in India, everybody knows Khali in India. And so Jinder Mahal, who might not be the best in-ring performer, might not be the best on the mic, but he actually knows how to run a wrestling promotion, because he was running a promotion that Kali was in, and he was booking the shows and the talent, and he was writing the stuff. And so he went out there and he learned his craft, and then he got his body built up and got a great look. And then once he had all that knowledge, he came back to WWE. And if you look at these guys versus where Heath Slater is, you got two champions, one of NXT and one of SmackDown Live, and then there's Heath Slater, who isn't doing much of anything because he was never forced to grow.
Yeah, that's kind of the downside about when WWE actually likes you for some odd reason, and they think that that you don't need to get better, that you're perfect the way you are, and I think Heath would have been a prime example for a guy to leave and possibly grow and come back and be better and be. I'm not going to say he would be on Drew McIntyre's level. For Jinder, you know what? When they released him and he hit the gym and he hit the gym hard, he came back and he looked in phenomenal shape. And I'm not going to deny that. I will not deny him what he's owed. He came back. He looks in phenomenal shape. He's getting a push. Do I think it's deserved? Not necessarily, but at the same time, it's something new. It's innovative. You're trying to make a new star. Is he kind of the wrong guy? Sure, but I'm not writing the stories here. So, I mean, they're going to India. They're going to push him in India. We've had worse champions. Okay, let's just say it that. We've had worse champions. He can't put on a good in-ring match regardless of who he's with. Again, we've had worse. He can't have a promo without losing his voice. We've had worse. So, I mean, Jinder could be worse. I think his time away helped him. I think nobody is going to come back like Drew McIntyre did. He left, and when he left, I want to say he was silent for about a year. And then I was slowly getting into the UK scene, and all of a sudden, it's Drew Galloway, and it's like, who the hell is Drew Galloway? It's fucking Drew McIntyre. Holy crap, you're fucking looking great. You're putting on these great matches. WWE doesn't need you. And then what happens? He comes to NXT, and he just looks like a monster compared to everybody. And he's a babyface. He is huge. I'm surprised he was released in the first place. I understand that his gimmick went down and all this and that, but he was Vince's Wonder Boy. You know what I mean? He was this tall, British, handsome young guy who was a good in-ring performer, who had a good look, a good body, and it just didn't pan out. He leaves, he gets better, he looks better, and if he's not immediately right back on Vince's love list, I don't know.
Yeah, man. Drew McIntyre he's a great worker. Scottish? He's Scottish, right?
I want to say Scottish.
He is. There's a podcast that he did with Chris Jericho where he talks about the craziness of re-debuting in NXT, like everything, like the crazy, like it was like a 24 to 48 hours that he had, and literally traveling because he had to do a couple more shows literally on his way to NXT, including going somewhere to drop a title, and then immediately when the match was over was hustled to the back, jumped into a limousine, flew straight into wherever the NXT show was that night, got to the locker room, took like a 30-second shower, threw on his suit, and was immediately taken out and placed in his seat so they could do that shot of him like sitting in the crowd. But literally, if you listen to the story, there was no time for anything. It was just like boom, 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 got the camera shot, and then finally after that, I want
to say it was the WCPW title that he dropped that night.
Right. And that's What Culture Pro Wrestling, right?
Soon to be rebranded as Defiant Wrestling.
I'm afraid I've got some bad news. No.
I do love that Stu is there. I think he's going to be a big influence to them. And with the popularity that they had, I only see the UK scene getting bigger.
See, that's the benefit of WWE, because you have a guy like Ryback, who leaves
Oh yeah.
WWE, and then he spends all his time trashing them, and he just looks bitter and old and terrible. But you got a guy like Wade Barrett, right? Who understands. Everybody who's ever left WWE for the most part understands. That's why even a jobber can leave WWE. Okay, for example, Jinder Mahal, when he was deciding whether or not to come back to
Right.
WWE, he was also in contact with TNA. TNA wanted to bring him in. Why would TNA want to bring in Jinder Mahal? Because anybody who's ever spent any time in WWE, no matter how bad they were, they know they still learned something about production, something about cutting promos, something about camera angles. And so that's why a guy like Wade Barrett can, be named the general manager of, What Culture Pro Wrestling show, because they know that while he was there, there's no way he didn't pick up on all these other parts of the business, and they can always use a mind like that.
Oh yeah. I mean, he's got such a good mind for the wrestling brand. He's a name, and he has a presence. He had a presence here, and I'm sure it's an even bigger one in the UK. And I only see them going up. I mean, like ICW is a great promotion. I've watched them. They put on great matches. Some a little more on the odd side, but good shows nonetheless. WCPW, I've been a fan since they came out and have just, lit the internet on fire with bringing guys over like Jay Lethal and, Adam Cole and Red Dragon, just going out, getting the best talent you can, putting them with your guys, and showing the wrestling world that we have guys that you don't know, but we're going to show you that they need to be known.
You said they brought over Adam Cole. Who's that?
Oh, no, you never heard of Adam Cole? Adam Cole, he's a nobody. It's just this guy on NXT who's going to take the world by storm.
Oh no, I know a guy named Adam Cole on NXT, but that's not. I think what confused me is that you didn't use his full name.
Oh, that's right.
What's his full name?
His full name? Oh God,
You're
killing me.
It's because every time I've ever heard him say his name, I'm pretty sure he says Adam Cole, baby.
I gotta say that's the greatest ever.
Does
The
he
first
really?
couple times I've heard that in Ring of Honor, I was like, this guy's so over. And I started doing the Bebes, and he's so good. He's really good. And I'm not to randomly get off topic here. I always listen to Wrestling Observer Live and the Wrestling Observer radios. I love Brian Alvarez and listening to those guys and giving their input. I called in on their show one day, and they were talking about bringing guys coming over, like guys like Adam Cole, and I full blown said I feel like he's being squandered already, and I may be wrong and I may be overlooking it, but I feel like he's being squandered because you're not putting him against Drew McIntyre right when he should be, which is I think immediately. This is just my opinion. But yet you're gonna try with this War Games match, which nobody really knows if it's gonna be a hit or not.
Here's the thing about WWE. Okay, you Moses Marquez are a wrestling fan, as am I. So when you hear that Adam Cole, baby, is coming to WWE, you immediately go, okay, this is perfect. I want to see him fight Kevin Owens. I want to see him fight AJ Styles. I got like 8 other wrestlers. I need this guy to fight. But WWE goes,
Exactly.
oh, Adam Cole. He's famous already. People know him from New Japan, Ring of Honor, and stuff like that. Maybe a little bit of Impact Wrestling. But see, that's the thing. He's famous for being there, which means, listen, before they put him up against the big talents in WWE, every wrestler that comes in from the independents or from some other promotion, before they can get to do anything important in WWE, they first have to learn WWE's specific in-ring style. Because if you listen to like AJ Styles and Samoa, any of these guys, anybody who came over, they're like, there's a specific style that WWE has you use, and you have to get used to knowing where the specific cameras are. That when you're making those facial expressions and you're trying to sell a move, they have to know exactly what camera to look in at what time. And it's more than just like, it's not like being in the independents where they're like, just go out there and wrestle a good match. In WWE, it's a full on production. And so before they can put him in those really big spots, he has to learn the ropes. It doesn't matter how, you could be a 20-year veteran. It's like saying, well, I played in minor leagues for 20 years. Okay, well, this is the majors, and I don't care how experienced you are. There's a reason why this is called the majors. The elements are different, and you need to learn your craft here. Because until you learn it at this level, Heath Slater right now is more valuable to WWE than Adam Cole because Heath Slater knows the system. And once Adam Cole learns the WWE system, which is going to take a little bit more time, he'll get those spots. Because look at Bobby Roode. Look at where they put him at now today. But he had to be in NXT and he had to learn the WWE way. Correct?
Very true. Very, very true.
Also, I wanted to say, when Adam Cole says "baby" after his name, I kind of feel like, is that like a Jericho thing? Like I know I've heard Jericho say it, and I've also heard Dolph Ziggler, I think, says it too, and then
if you listen to Seth Rollins has said it a couple of times too.
Right.
It kind of threw me off the first couple of times I heard it because it's like, didn't Adam Cole just get signed and you guys are already stealing his trademark?
See, that's the thing. It's like I feel like Jericho. This is really a Jericho thing, and so Adam Cole is from a group, the Bullet Club, that's kind of notorious for because they're wrestlers who are still wrestling fans, and they still mark out over the wrestlers they grew up watching, and then they turn around and they use their monikers, their sayings, and stuff like that. And so just like they could, throw up that Wolfpack sign and they're too sweeting everybody and they're crotch chopping, I just figured that Bebe was another. I thought, oh, this guy's a fan of Jericho. That's why he's saying that. But now that he's in WWE, and even though he's still using it, but I feel like, I don't know, man, if you could trace it back, I'm pretty sure that's been Jericho's shtick for a long time,
Truth be told, that sounds right to me. It sounds like it was a Jericho thing. You're probably right. Maybe back in either his early WWE run, or maybe back to his WCW days, back when he was the Lion Tamer. God,
Oh
I miss
yeah.
that name.
Yeah. Chris Jericho Lionheart. Yeah, before it was the
Oh,
Walls.
yeah, Lionheart. His submission was the Lion Tamer. Let me reframe.
Yeah, that guy. I've read 3 of Chris Jericho's books. I know his entire story, and he's a fascinating character. I love that guy. But let's. What do you say we jump into a little bit of news?
Let's go for it. I'm down for some news.
All right, man. First story coming up, and this is being brought to you by Raja.com, which that's where I get a lot of my stories from. A lot of wrestling news is on Raja. Go check it out if you've never heard of it. I was not aware of this, but according to Raja.com, Jinder Mahal continues to be bothered by a shoulder injury and has to wrestle at non-televised events with his shoulder completely taped up. However, on SmackDown Live, he drops the tape as the company doesn't want people to see that his shoulder is taped up on live television. So Jinder Mahal is wrestling hurt, and as you know, people who wrestle hurt, it's the time is ticking. It's like there's only so many matches you could have like that, especially when they don't want people to know that he's wrestling hurt. So he's not even allowed to tape himself up when they're doing live TV, only at the house shows. So I gotta ask you, man, as they continue to have him put the title on the line and still walk out with the strap, and a lot of people are against it. Now he's wrestling injured. I mean, at what point do they take the strap off this young man?
You know what? I don't think they're going to. I think if they can continue to work him safe, try to prolong his injury, that's how they're going to go. The one thing I've started to slowly learn about the WWE in my 20-something years of being a wrestling fan is they don't like to change their minds. Vince does, but the actual creative team not so much. If they have a direction they're going, they like to keep it that way. And from the sounds of it, their only direction that they have is going towards Jinder Cena at Mania. So until they find a new guy to take the strap off of Jinder that's not named John Cena, I think they're going to keep it on him regardless of the injury, unless he tears it and has to go out. I don't see him dropping the title with a minor injury at all.
Do you think that? I mean, because we alluded to the fact that we both kind of agree, and I'm sure the IWC also agrees that Jinder Mahal is not a really great in-ring performer, and that's putting it lightly. Do you think his arm injury could possibly be explained for the reason why he can't go as hard in the ring as we want him to?
If that was the case, he would have put on better matches before when he first got the title reign. He's an enhancement talent. He really is. They were hoping for something more out of him. Yes, he came back looking amazing. I get that, but Lex Luger looked amazing. He didn't get a title shot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. But that was a different time too. But I definitely get what you're saying. There's going to be a lot of notable people in the WWE in the past who were some of the most transcending characters of all time and never got a chance to hold that strap. And that happens in every realm. Just like in basketball, you could name all kinds of legends, literally legends, who never won.
Absolute legends. That never won not one ring.
Yeah, football, I mean, you can go around and you can just name them and everything. But, okay, so moving on to the next story, also from Raja.com, and I'm not at all surprised about this because I talked about it on the page. At Hell in a Cell, I remember Bobby Mackey specifically was saying, yeah, man, look at the crowd. It's sold out, blah, 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 blah. Somebody's saying that there's that it's not sold out, but it looks to me like all the seats are taken up. And I remember saying to Bobby Mackey on the page, I said, listen, I can see the empty seats in the background. And he's like, well, I don't see it. But Raja.com reports WWE publicly announced that Hell in a Cell last Sunday drew a sellout crowd of 16,200 fans. But that number was inflated, as usual, and the real figure was closer to around 13,000, including the fact that you could see the empty seats on live TV. So what do you think is going on, man? Like, how come that the ticket sales continue to struggle, even for a pay-per-view in WWE?
I think they continue to fail, mainly because it's the product sometimes is there, but for the most part isn't. They continue to push a guy that even the casual fans are starting to believe is not a worthy champion in Jinder Mahal. You're having guys like AJ Styles in kind of throwaway matches with Baron Corbin. Yes, granted it's for the U.S. title, but at the same time, Baron could be working with younger talent, and they could be doing something to try to make a name for both of them, rather than try to play off of AJ, which I understand that, you know what I mean? AJ's a great worker. He can put on a good match with just about anybody. I mean, look what he did with James Ellsworth. So he's a great in-ring performer, but I just think that the in-ring product has gotten a bit stale. And then, truth be told, the loss of Cena, I used to hate the guy. I used to love the guy. I used to hate the guy. I used to love the guy. I used to go back and forth. When he's not there, they lose money. And that is simply a fact. But at the same time, what I've noticed a lot about their shows is they really do want people to go. And I'm sure if a WWE stooge were to hear me say this, shout out to being the elite, they have, in the past, I've gotten free tickets for doing something stupid for a radio show, calling in, being caller number 7, getting an auto quote from ASI, and I get free ticket. You know what I mean? They want you to see the shows. They're willing to paper the shows. Quote Matt Jackson for saying that. They're willing to paper the shows to get the crowds there. But like I said, even if you're giving the stuff away, if the product is stale, nobody's gonna go.
You know what? And here's the thing. Let's just kind of, two things. So I want to go back to Matt Jackson in a second. But before I get there, I want to note that I was live and in person last month for WWE No Mercy, and so was Eric L. White, another RWT group member, and so he was sitting on the floor, and he had a he his view was limited as far as like he couldn't see the whole arena. I was sitting above him, like literally from my seat. I looked down and I could see him, but he couldn't see me because I was up above him or whatever. And so I remember I put on the page while I was there, like, dude, there's a lot of empty seats in here. And then he immediately took like a video or something and put on the page, and he was like, where are the empty seats? And so he kind of panned his camera back and forth, and he's like, well, basically, he was kind of like, there's no empty seats in here. I don't know what you're seeing, but this place is lit and it's sold out. He was 100% wrong. And I said to him,
Fortunately, he was.
I said, listen, man, I from your vantage point, I get it. It looks like everything is completely filled up, but I'm sitting up higher than you, and I can literally see the empty seats. And he didn't believe me, but so then I had to do a little bit of investigating, and I actually was able to find several people who were also at the show who put on their Snapchats pictures of all the empty seats. And I'm talking about during Brock Lesnar, Braun Strowman. So it's not like it was a pretzel break or something. The seats were empty the entire night. So if you take that information and you match it with the fact that on SmackDown, they're tarping off the entire left side, like the non-camera side of the arenas, because there's not enough seats being sold, and the people who are supposed to be sitting on that side, all 5 or 6 of them, they're upgrading their seats. They're putting everybody to one side, and so then the camera only shoots from the left side. Therefore, the arena looks full. But those people are people who had their seats upgraded because nobody was sitting on their side.
Exactly, that free upgraded seat where you're going from the bottom of the back angle to one of the top levels, if not mid-level, and you get to see everything.
Now here's where we tie it all in. Back in the day, I don't know, let's call it 1998, 1999, something like that. There was D-Generation X, and they invaded WCW. And one of the things about that was, I remember they were asking people in the crowd, listen, did you pay to be here? How did you get these tickets? And everybody was like, these tickets were free. They gave them out for free. That's the only reason why I'm here, because it's a free wrestling show. And then DX was like making fun of that, like, God, these guys can't even make money. Now you yourself are saying you've gotten some free wrestling tickets, or you've done the simplest things and gotten tickets to the shows. And you match that with a guy like Matt Jackson, who took his faction, the Bullet Club, and invaded Raw. And this, are we starting to see the similarities here? A company that's giving out free tickets to their shows and then being invaded by a rival promotion. Could we see the fall of WWE coming out soon? What do you think?
I don't think we're gonna see a fall of the WWE. Vince McMahon has too much power. He's too big of a name. His company's been around for way too long. A little insight, truth be told, on the original invasion angle from 20 years ago. When DX showed up there and they asked all those questions, not to hurt any of my DX fans, but unfortunately they were lied to. WCW at that time was actually selling out shows left and right. They couldn't give tickets away if they wanted to. Do I think that they used to give like low-level, high nosebleed tickets away? Sure, absolutely. You know what I mean? Anytime you need to fill those gaps, can you give those kind of tickets away? Sure, absolutely. But for the majority, like, all the good seats would be taken. WCW was a big draw. But to get back to your question, no, I don't see WWE. I don't see it happening. Vince is too big. There's too much power. There's too many names. As for the whole, like, do I see somebody taking over WWE? No. What I do see, though, is that WWE is really, really putting over the Bullet Club. Like, if you could ever just put over a faction just by doing what they're doing, they're putting them over. They're making them worldwide. They're making them like they're part of their brand. You hit them with a cease and desist, and that only got them more attention. You know what I mean? You fire Jimmy Jacobs, that's only getting more people's attention on the Bullet Club. That's all they're doing. I mean, I don't think he should have been let go. I think Jimmy Jacobs is a great writer. He's you know what I mean? He's a longtime wrestler of ROH. He has a weird persona, but he was a very, very good in ring guy. I mean, not in ring guy. I mean, he's a very good creative writer. So I mean, WWE's not going anywhere. I can only hope that there is some works in this in the near future with companies like ROH and maybe PWG. I'd love for them to go to Japan, but let's be honest, a lot of those guys will not work for Vince.
That guy that got fired, he's got to learn a lesson here. You're saying he's a smart guy. He should have been smarter than that. Because don't you remember? I can't remember the wrestler, but there was a wrestler that was notably fired for showing up at a TNA pay-per-view or something. Like of course, the camera, just to stick it to WWE, made sure that they panned over to who this guy was a current. He was a current WWE wrestler at the time, and it's like, oh, this so-and-so is in our crowd type of thing. And the moment they got wind of that, they're like, yeah, you're definitely fired. So it's kind of like, how they feel. WWE is here's what WWE is. WWE is your petty, jealous girlfriend. And they're like, what?
Really
you took a picture with who? Oh, it's over. You're not going to embarrass me like that.
No, you're not wrong. I don't remember who it was that went to TNA, and I guess they sat in the back, and they just didn't want to be noticed. But then all of a sudden, bam, they were noticed, and yeah, you're right. A couple of days later, they were fired on the spot because how dare you go to a competitor? But the thing is, and again, this might just be the wrestling fan in me talking, but wouldn't you want your guys to be seen at other promotions, to be getting that attention at other promotions, and then they can introduce that guy as the WWE guy? He is on the main roster in WWE, or he's the Intercontinental Champ, U.S. Champ, whatever. Don't you think you'd want that exposure? I mean, and as heartless as that may sound, you know what I mean? Because you're at a different promotion, you're promoting your guys, and you're trying to steal their audience. As horrible as that sounds, I wouldn't put it past Vince McMahon, but instead he takes that as, how dare you walk out on me? And it's like, nobody walked out on you. A lot of the guys that started with the company want to stay with the company, but it seems like and you made a great analysis with it, WWE does seem like the jealous girlfriend. If you don't do what I want you to do, I'm going to throw a fit and we're going to break up.
Or maybe or maybe even, one of your best buds who goes, hey, that guy Jeff? Yeah, I know Jeff. Yeah, I don't like Jeff. And because you're my friend, you don't like Jeff either. And then that guy looks on Facebook and sees a picture of his buddy hanging out with Jeff. And he goes, well, why would he do that? He knows that I don't like Jeff. And if he was really my friend, he wouldn't be with it. So he must not really be my friend, because if he's cool with Jeff and he knows that I don't like Jeff, then he must not be cool with me.
Yeah.
Switching gears,
no,
man.
on that one.
Let's checking the time here, and I want to make sure we're able to talk about everything, and we're kind of running out of time a little bit. But
oh, lovely.
Before we close things out, I just want to talk about something really important that's happening on the page, and that is that my guest here, Mr. Moses Marquez, has stepped up to the proverbial plate to grab one of Vinnie Mac's brass rings, and looks like you're going to be getting your own show, man. How about that?
Yeah, my own show. Working on it right now. It's called Smack Talk, not to be mistaken with the formerly long-running show on the WWE Network, Talkin' Smack. I'm gonna give my review on the weekly SmackDowns. I'm gonna give a bit of insight I'm gonna go through the matches. I'm gonna tell you how I feel about them. I'm gonna hopefully go a little into the detail of where I think the direction is going, how I feel about the direction. Hopefully I can keep it short. That way, I'm not wasting too many people's time. But I really want to get, people that don't watch SmackDown, I want to give them a reason to listen to the show, a reason to actually want to provide feedback to me. I'm not asking as a current. Once I release the first episode, I will ask if there's any questions, comment away. Hopefully I can, answer some questions, at the end of the next review. And I just really want to see if I can't get wrestling fans back into SmackDown with just me.
So you doing a show, and it's going to be, sounds like it's going to be an audio show where you're kind of like doing a review of the show of SmackDown each week, and there'll be, some pictures and video content that'll go along with your voiceover. Was this something that you always wanted to do, or like, where is this coming from?
Oh no, this is definitely something I've always wanted to do. I've been a big fan. I've been a big fan of wrestling over 20 years. I get told weekly, daily, even by my brothers that I should be a commentator, that I should be an analyst, I should do a podcast, and this is something that like I was hoping to catch, an opportunity to do it anywhere, anyhow. And who better to do it with than my RWT family? You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing but love and respect for most of the guys on there. So the least I can do is, give them a bit more of my insight, and hopefully we can all continue to grow together. That's my whole thing. Like, this is something that I would absolutely enjoy doing, and it has been on my mind for quite some time. If this pans out to our hardcore fans, I'm considering doing a New Japan review. I'm being willing to be that guy staying up till 3, 4 in the morning to turn around and hopefully get you guys a review by 7, 8 o'clock, and hopefully we can get New Japan on our page as well.
Yeah, I think that'd be fantastic, man. I'm really excited about it, and I appreciate the work that you're putting in and the content that you are bringing to the page. And here's one last note before I let you go, Mr. Moses Marquez. Speaking of content that you bring to the page, on the let's say August top 10 contributors list, I believe you came in at number 8, maybe number 8. And
I want to say 7. I started at 10, and I would say that was the month before. And in the last month, I moved up 3 spots.
Yeah, so you moved up to what, like number 4 as of September?
Something like that.
What stuck out to me is I remember you saying, I'm coming for that number 1 spot, and I think you were at number 4, and now you're going to be providing even more content to the page, man. Now Robert Davis, I mean, when that guy's number 1, but he's number 1 by a long shot. Do you understand? Like, nobody's coming close. Just as a final question, what's it going to take for you to overtake, or anybody perhaps to overtake Robert Davis for that number 1 spot?
You know what it's going to take, and this may sound a bit cliche, but don't be shy. Robert is he's a smart man. He knows his wrestling, and he's willing to share it with all of us. He doesn't bite his tongue. If he has a problem, he states it. If he has a concern, he states it. If he likes the direction they're going, he's going to say it. And I strongly want all of our followers to do the same. If you feel you can contribute with a comment, with a posting, you want to ask the dumb questions: who has the best entrance music? Who needs to leave the WWE? Who should leave New Japan and come to the WWE? I say this to all of our followers: don't be shy. Post, comment, whatever. Become a legit contributor. And for me to overtake Robert, as insane as that does sound, I will be pushing as hard as I can, bringing out any and all content I can, whether it be Talking Smack, whether it be anything from New Japan, whether, it's anything I can contribute on or comment on, I plan to. I want to be number 1 contributor on the page, and that's my goal.
Well, there you have it, man. Moses Marquez, thank you so much, man, for giving me a little piece of your morning, and thank you for coming on the show. I definitely look forward to your show, Smack Talk, and hearing what you got to say, because I'm in class Tuesday nights, so I literally never get to watch SmackDown anymore, and I'm going to be relying on your show to keep me updated on what's going on. So thank you so much for being on the RWT podcast today, my man.
Hey, brother, I appreciate you having me.
All right, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Yes, you will.
Well, there you have it, folks. That was my interview with Mr. Moses Marquez, and hopefully, if you listened all the way through, you learned a little bit more about Moses today. Also, on Thursday? No, I always get this messed up. Wednesday mornings, Smack Talk, hosted by Moses Marquez, is always available to you. Wednesday mornings is a new episode where Moses will describe to you what happened the night before on SmackDown Live, give his opinions. So as always, make sure you post questions to him, make his episodes more interesting when he can kind of interact with the crowd a bit. And I don't know, man. Other than that, thank you so much for joining me. The RWT podcast is back, baby. And if you want to be on it, shoot me a message. We will talk about it. We'll get you scheduled, and we'll have us a good old time. But I think that's it for now, ladies and gents. I'm going to let you go. And have a good rest of your day. And I will catch you down the road.